And we're live.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? This glasses can not only see far away.
Our next speaker is Rae Easley.
Good afternoon to the city of Chicago. I am P. Rae of the 37th Ward. Chicago Red is our organization. Because we started this session with a prayer, I want to start my comment with the scripture. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But if any provide not for his own, and specifically for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." So I want to talk to y'all today about not going to hell. In the 37th Ward, there was a family, the Jones family. Amarie Jones was standing in her family building that they've owned for 40 years, doing a TikTok dance with her mother. A bullet came through the window, hit her in the neck. She fell to the ground in front of her mother and bled to death. A month ago on the Chicago mugshot page, her mother was on that page. Her mother had on her daughter's Rest in Peace t-shirt. She washed it so many times that it was completely faded out. She was completely high, out of her mind, and the charge was possession. Now, the first $51 million that this council gave to the migrants came from the opioid settlement funds. I am here on behalf of the Jones family, on behalf of the 37th Ward, on behalf of Black Chicago, on behalf of the entire city, to ask you all to vote no and put that money back in the opioid settlement fund. We need that money in my neighborhood. We need that on my block. That woman should not be at Cook County Jail because she's grieving over a random act of violence that caused her to lose her child in front of her face, when the city of Chicago has millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to give to people who ain't paid a dime into the tax base. We've been in my building for 52 years. We're about to pay some more taxes. The Jones family has been in their building for 45 years, paying taxes every year on time. So I'm asking y'all to use our tax money for our people. We need it. We got people leaning, we got people rocking, we got overdosing, we got pass out lines. You live on the west side, Mayor Johnson, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We need the money for us. We need opioid treatment on the west side of Chicago. We are the headquarters of the cartel, and everybody in here knows it. They selling more drugs than the law can allow, and y'all giving money back to them because they traffic those people up here, so we paying them going and coming. Absolutely not. We pay too much. It costs too much money to live in this city. Help Wanda Jones. Help every other grieving mother who feels like she has to go get high to get over the loss of her child. This is a woman who lived in that house. She still sleeps in that living room where her daughter passed out and bled to death. So I'm asking y'all to say no, put these people on the back burner, and put the money back in the opioid fund. We need that money. Thank y'all.
Thank you for your comments.
We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the #2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being #2. You're going to go down and become #4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were #2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become #4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
It's a bad same time that America refused to give the Negro any land. Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountain. Good evening in the central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Devine, your hostess, is the hostess on the Reparations perspective, bringing you those Negro descendant hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. How y'all doing, family? I see you, Queen Yasmin. I see you, Ivy Dreams. I see you, Carolyn Quinn. And for those of you who are tuning in from Facebook and X, welcome to the live, family. I'm so excited. I am so excited to have my sister from another mister. Just off the plane from D.C., she got an invitation to the Black History Month occasion. I saw her over on Facebook as she was taking the bus through the local part of town to get to and from DC. She might have even been going to the event on that particular live stream, but she is a force of nature. She is a force to be reckoned with. I feel as if we are cut from the very same cloth. She is of the ancestors, the ones who fought back. You guys know how I love to be amongst a tribe that fights back like the ancestors. She has taken Brandon Johnson to task. She has taken the city of Chicago to task. She has flipped Chicago purple. Y'all, without further ado, she didn't send me no bio because she's been too busy to send me a bio. So now I'm going to have to let her tell y'all her own bio. But I've been watching this sister. I am properly impressed, and I'm prayerful that she can tell us here in California how to get it done red style. How to make Cali turn red. Okay? Without further ado, introducing the incomparable, the legendary, the Powerhouse P. Rae Easley of Chicago Red.
Well, hey, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. What an introduction.
Oh my gosh, for having you. I've just been envying Dana. I've been envying Fox News.
I'm just one lady broadcasting from a church on the west side of Chicago, okay? That's me. I'm just trying. You know, I had my house burned up in September. Yeah, I had a house fire. So I inherited my grandparents' building. They bought it in 1972, right here on the west side, and we had an electrical fire. So my house caught on fire, and so now I broadcast from my church community center. Shout out to every block of village. Yeah, so this is where I talk to America, right here in this little corner on the west side. It's a beautiful
God
thing.
bless you. Are you sure we shouldn't go after Pritzker? Should we go after BJ? What we got to do, fam?
I'm just trying. You know, we making it work. You know, we're definitely making it work because I love living on the west side of Chicago. We're getting it fixed. Insurance is gonna fix it back up for us.
Oh,
So
praise God.
yeah, it's okay. But I'm out here. You know, that even with a house fire, people wouldn't have known that my stuff burned up because we've been on the ground moving. Like you got to keep the momentum going. I can deal with that later. You know, so here we are.
Well, you are such a force of nature.
Thank
I
you.
fell in love with you from that very first. Well, that was the first time I had ever been introduced to your advocacy. Was the spot I just aired. Forgive the commercial, y'all. Until y'all start paying for the channel, I ain't paying for nothing else. I'm paying for the StreamYard. Y'all got to get it together. Speaking of which, shout out to Amal and shout out to Rasan and his family for sponsoring the last broadcast. I haven't been with y'all for a minute. Sister was down bad with the flu, could barely talk. Okay. But anywho, I digress. That intro that I showed you, forgive the commercial that was trying to come through there. But that's when I saw this sister and I said, she reminds me so much of myself at 2 years of task force hearings out here for reparations. Because I went hard and they did not like that I spoke so eloquently against the albatross immigration was around our necks.
Yes.
And I let them know, sis, it is an oxymoron and it's diametrically opposed to be for reparations and for mass and illegal immigration.
But they don't know any better. That's the thing. You got to grant our people grace. That's the whole. So that's what works with Chicago Red. We grant our people grace because we know that we don't know any better. So you can't get mad at people for exercising the system that they were forced into. Here in Chicago, when our people, Chicago is Mississippi North, okay? So it's a million people left Mississippi and came to Chicago. That's why we're still country with our mouths. And so when they came from Mississippi, they were registered Republicans, okay? This was the South. But when they came to the North, they ran into the Chicago machine that was literally bullying and terrorizing them into the Democratic Party. If you did not join the Democratic Party, you could not get a job. You could not get city services. Somebody might come bust your windows out and slap you in the face. It took a federal decree called the Shackman Decree. Look it up, Shackman, Shackman, Shackman Decree here in Chicago. It took the act of Congress to make them stop. And they're still doing it because people who are affiliated with my organization are having a very hard time getting stuff done in the city of Chicago. So we are fighting against a system of terrorism. And because we understand that, we grant our people grace. Because people will tell me all the time, P. Rae, I'm with it. I love Chicago Red, but I can't wear your stuff. I'm not going to get my contract renewed. I got a city job. I got a state job. You know, my sister got an organization. They getting grants. So you got to play it a little differently. And so the way that we do it is by self-esteem. Okay, that's how it works up here. Because to wrap my bio in, so I got involved in MAGA, period, in 2018. And I went to the Young Black Leadership Summit at the White House. Now, I didn't sign up to go to this. I was on bossup.com and they had an article called Sunken Place Cool Festival. And I'm like, what is this? So I clicked it and I saw Ben Carson's picture there. And I'm like, okay, if Ben Carson's going to be at this, whatever this is in Gaithersburg, Maryland, I got to see if they're still taking people. Because I grew up in my congressman's office, Congressman Danny K. Davis. I love you, Congressman. I grew up in his office. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, yeah, sorry, someone was calling me. So every day after school, I would go to my U.S. Congressman's office to work on this federal housing initiative with the Congressional Black Caucus. So when I saw Ben Carson was going to be at this event in 2018, I'm like, I got to go because, I know housing advocacy. Long story short, I ended up going to that event, got moved to the White House. And then I ended up getting red pilled by the president in the White House. You know, he said, this is your country. The Democrats are beating you up. Look at your cities. Look at your towns. You deserve better than this. And we were in the White House screaming, we free, we free. And to be in the White House screaming that in the East Room with the president of the United States pointing, saying, yes, you are, is a phenomenal experience, because that's when I repatriated into the country. I left America in 2016 to go into a political exile against Barack Obama and Rahm Emanuel because of how they mismanaged the subprime crisis, and I couldn't get a job with Obamacare. So that's me. That's all I do. You know, I ran away to Africa. I got a whole life in Senegal. You know, so I just live. I don't like to find comfort in chaos. And so it's either leave or try to fix it. So Chicago Red trying to fix it.
Well, you're doing an amazing job. I've just been watching you, like I said, observing you in so many spaces. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And you're absolutely right. My impatience was not with the people. I totally understand that it took me 2 terms of voting for Obama before I started getting politically educated. That identity and respectability pie tricks must die for the Negro to flourish in the country of our ancestors.
Yes,
and then living out here in California for 20 plus years, I got to see us being legislated out. We've literally been driven, we've been bombed out. A whole myriad of things have been happening out here, as I'm sure you probably know. So to see you guys, especially you with Chicago Red and so many others that I see kicking ass and taking names over at the city council meetings, it just gives me hope. But I want to thank you for that. I did want you to give me, I know a lot about you, but the rest of my viewers don't. And many of them weren't sure if we were going live. They're not getting their notifications. I'm being shadow banned, so I understand what you're talking about when it comes to how we can lose jobs, we can lose lives. I mean, the way they do us these days, they don't necessarily take a bullet to you, but what they'll do is economically genocide you. And so that happens a lot here. We'll get hundreds to probably see this later, but I know a lot about you because I just kind of follow you like a little fangirl. And I wanted to share with my audience about your rich family and your line from Mississippi to Chicago. Just a little bit, if you could give us your background as a Democrat and what it's kind of cost you in terms of family and friends, so that my tribe can be prepared that it will cost you even some relationships when you make the change.
So, yes, I'll start with the relationships. I go by P. Rae because I'm named after my parents, Patricia and Ray. But Patricia said she don't want her. I'm their first baby born on their 5th wedding anniversary, so I am love. However, Patricia doesn't want her name in this, so we got her off the stage, and so I'm P. Rae. So that shows you right there that I can't even use my real name in what I'm doing. Okay? But on a more serious note, my people are from the great state of Mississippi maternally. They're from central Mississippi. My grandmother is from Chula, the poorest town in the poorest state in the United States of America. My grandfather is from Greenwood, Mississippi, which is Negro Choctaw land, okay? And my people are Choctaw on my grandfather's side. And I know, people always say like we're pretendians, but my cousins and my aunts, they have eyelids that go like this. So that's a native feature. If you got the downward drooping eyelids, that's native. They got thick hair. Anyway, I digress. So that's us.
I might be Choctaw.
Yes, you might. If you're from like the mounds. So my grandmother will always tell us that they're not from the Delta, they're from the hills. And they call the hills the mounds that are there. The mounds were the mounds that the Choctaw and the Chickasaw were building in central Mississippi. This is why we got a heavy corn diet. We eat corn for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Grits, cornbread, salmon croquettes, fried green, cooked tomatoes, catfish, and we like corn because we are corn people. That's who we are ethnogenically.
I love that.
So that's me. Very, very Southern. I live on the west side of Chicago in the Austin community. This is America's largest Negro community. There are 85,000 of us living in one neighborhood. So this
Wow.
yeah. So it's one of the blackest places you'll ever be. I went to a Catholic school. We had a black Jesus on the wall with an afro. Okay, Jesus always been a black man for me. So because I live in a very black space, when my parents graduated from college, they moved back to our neighborhood where both of my grandmothers lived because they said that the white man's water is not wetter, white man's ice is not colder. Just because they have college degrees does not mean that they go live with white people. So I grew up upper middle class in the middle of the hood. And I couldn't have a better upbringing. I never felt unsafe. I never felt compromised. I actually feel very safe here. On the west side of Chicago, you're going to have high self-esteem, but you're going to get bullied into some self-esteem. You can't walk with your head low. People will say, hey, pick your head up. What you doing? You know, what you looking at on the ground? Stand up straight. So people will stop their car and tell you this. Man, stand up. You know, because again,
that's right.
We're proud people over here. We're homeowners over here. The majority of the neighborhood, we're homeowners. We're middle class people. We pay mortgages. We cut our grass, and we listen to the blues at night on our porches because we are country. And I love it. And so my parents, my father especially, were very politically involved over here. Again, they want to use their intellectual capital to advance the community. So my mom is an intellectual. She got her dissertation in the effects of metal and groundwater in manufacturing districts and how that affects children's learning outcomes. So she did the research. She gave it to our U.S. congressman. He went and got some federal funding to fix the pipes. Okay, that kind of stuff.
Oh, y'all serious?
Yes. My father was a big time community organizer. The city of Chicago is about to build a 8-foot monument in his honor right here at our park, you know, with taxpayer funds. So I grew up doing this, and I told people I do this because this is all I know how to do. This was all I was taught. My father was a history major, graduated in 1980. So he he was too young for the Black Power era, but like right in college in the late 70s where they were like really trying to intellectualize their experiences. So my whole life was nothing but a long history story. When I say a long history, every single day we talking about some U.S. history, some politics, you know, we're debating back and forth. But with him, even with us really being very ingratiated in the Democratic Party, I told him one day, Daddy, why are we Democrats? You taught me all this stuff. We did all this work on the Civil War. You had me do all this research about these political parties. It doesn't make sense for us to be Democrats. We should be Republicans. And he told me, Ray, you shut your damn mouth. Don't you ever say that again. Do you know we won't get our garbage picked up? Do you know that they will stop letting us do X, Y, Z? Don't you never say that in Chicago. They will kick your little ass for you, okay? Don't do that. And I'm like, okay, Daddy. So my daddy passed away, and now everybody's like, who we gonna get to stop her? Because she out of control.
She is unstoppable. She's a force of nature, just like your daddy, but you went red, okay? It is what it is. Honey, I go through the same thing. My family and friends are ready to nail me to a cross. They cannot believe that I had an entire protest voter strategy for deportation, closed borders, and that it actually helped to deliver, because that was you, that was all of us throughout the country, to deliver 28% of the Negro vote. Okay, and now we going for 50%. I'm on a mission, and I'm not necessarily, you call Donald Trump your Donnie. You have really for Donald Trump. That's not really me. But I do realize that his policies are more for my people than the demon rats, economically genocidal. They are literally erasing and replacing us with our own vote. And so I am smart enough, and I have a real big acumen for politics since Obama, that I can see that voting for Trump is already paying in dividends. With that being said, you're back from the Black History Month celebration. Everybody's talking about it. And just to give, there was no reparations. So, I was livid, but I was ecstatic to see a lot of y'all who I love and respect on the red hand side. You got your invitations and y'all were there looking beautiful. And I'm here to tell you what meant so much to me was that Trump at least can acknowledge that we built this country. Sometimes he tries to factor in that all lives matter when they know good and well they were sipping mint julep while our ancestors were in those cotton fields in the kitchen. But I digress. I'm trying to focus on the good because that's your Donnie. I'm not going to go in too tough. But I was properly impressed to see all of your beautiful faces. I didn't really see your picture, but I did see a lot of the people from Chicago.
I was off to the side.
Huh?
So there's a reason for this. So let me tell you this.
Yes.
This is my fourth time going, okay? What? I went in 2018, 19, and 20. This is my fourth time going. The first time I went, my president set my soul on fire. This is why I call him my Donnie. This is why we did Black Chicago for Trump. This is why we have Black Excellence Hour. This is why we have Chicago Red, because of that 2018 speech. It was very informative. It was very empowering. It was, I had literally just repatriated back to the United States a year before I went to the White House. So to come out of that experience and then come and get my patriotism ignited by the U.S. president is an experience that I can't even put into words. What we had the other day was not that. I was actually very saddened and I cried real tears because this was an opportunity for my Donnie to really talk to us. It was an opportunity for him to address DEI because people are saying that it's racist. He wants to hurt Black people. He was supposed to tell the country, hey, Black folks, this affects you the least. This ain't your business, okay? He was supposed to tell us that. He was supposed to give us an update on the immigration deportations because that affects us disproportionately. That's what we were supposed to talk about. We were supposed to talk about the homelessness in Black America because all of us know somebody sleeping outside right now on a cold sidewalk. It's like we gotta talk about the literacy rates that nationally stands at 8% for Black boys. Like, it's so much more for us to talk about than for Tiger Woods to be up there with his medal on. And that's cool. That's cool. Don't get me wrong. We're going to clap for the Calibolation. We're going to clap for him. We're going to make him feel good. However,
he don't even identify as us.
That's my point. Why? But they don't. This is my point, right?
They're tone deaf.
So, voila. You know, and there were so many opportunities for him to really address us. You know, that were missed. He spoke from a prepared speech. I've gone to see my Donnie speak multiple times. I've seen him 4 times at the White House. I went to like 6 rallies. Like I'm MAGA, okay? MAGA out. Chicago, Queen Chicago MAGA. And I know that when he speaks off the cuff, it's more passionate, it's more factual, it's more everything. My guy stood there and read to us. You know, it was late. He wouldn't have had no other people standing up there waiting on him like that. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have talked to other people about putting statues in a hero park. If he puts a statue out there, Muhammad Ali or not, are people still sleeping on the sidewalks? Okay, the border issue has still not been properly addressed because they're not doing the type of deportations that we expected. We were supposed to get an update. Okay, we were supposed to talk about the platinum plan. We were supposed to talk about getting our own designation through the OMB. Like, it's so much that Black America needed in that moment. We needed it. You know, we came back with nothing. People say, P. Rae, how did it go? I'm like, huh? You know, again, I don't have nothing to tell y'all. I didn't go to the council and get the secrets to bring back to my village because they weren't discussed. And I think we deserve more than that. And I love my Donnie. As everybody know, I still P. Rae down with Donnie, but he's not above reproach. And I think that we use that moment as a way to elevate influencers, to make other people be like, okay, if I start talking this MAGA stuff too, I can maybe get in that room too. But it's work to be done. It's real live work. I'm gonna tell you this story. I went there and I saw one of my girlfriends from college. And she's homeless. She has a mental illness. She has a college degree in a very specialized field. And my girl living outside. She figuring it out every single day. She's telling me about the homeless shelters. She's telling me about her experiences, people fighting up, people doing all kinds of stuff. And when I left the White House, there was a Black man sitting in front of the Treasury building shaking a can. We got to talk about our people outside. Like that, and that's what, as you can see in that video that you show, even when we talk about Wanda, that was about home ownership. It's about housing. That's what took me to the White House, to talk about housing. It's too many of our people outside and we too busy talking about other stuff. And so, yeah, that was my White House experience. And they gave us greens with potatoes in it. I never had them before, but they were good. They were called harvest greens with potatoes, but they were good. They had jerk chicken, shrimp and grits, all that good stuff. But we really need our own designation as a people so that we can get rid of race. You know, if we really make the Negro our own people, then race is dead. I don't care about nobody else, because we will be counted as a tribe, as a North American indigenous tribe. But not Native, just an American tribe. You know what I'm saying? Because the Natives got their own sovereign nation. I don't want my own sovereign nation. I just want my piece of the U.S. government. We also, yes, ma'am. We also got to talk about these rehabs, because I had an auntie who was getting high. Okay, my auntie was getting high in the 90s. But then my auntie went to rehab in 2005 and became a whole new person of value and love and treasure to the family. So I understand the value of rehabs and how they rebuild communities. And we got the money to do it if we gave all this money to the illegals. You got to talk to us about this, because that's what our people are waiting to hear. Again, we put a lot on the line to support MAGA. We put a lot on the line to say we're going to be Republicans. So it's got to turn some type, it has to have some type of return. And I know that return is coming because I trust my president. You know what I'm saying? But it was just a missed opportunity.
Wow. Well, I thank you for your candor, because I've been on Yo Donnie's ass over in the X Space, child. When they start talking about these $5,000 stimmy checks, and you've not addressed the fact that there's a hundreds of trillions egregious racial wealth gap, where we've literally, I mean, like, the government has been the ones behind every downfall when it came to the Negro in this country, starting with the 40 acres and the mule being rescinded, and then giving the Homestead Act that continues vis-a-vis student loan debt erasure, all this kind of nonsense, as we have been very unwisely. You guys, I'm going to get to your questions and your comments more towards the end. I'm not going to detain P. Rae, but I do want to be able to share whatever your questions or comments are with her. She just got back to Chicago, and I don't want to wear her completely out. But yeah, I've been giving him the blues as they're talking about $5,000 stimulus checks. Well, that's what you all did the last time when it came to a whole pandemic, you know. And of course, I can't go into much detail, because even to this day, even though they know it was planned, let me say it and they'll strike my entire broadcast. So I'm just saying they've been doing Barack. It started, well, maybe not started, but it's when I became aware, was when Barack bailed out Wall Street and the banks.
And kept our houses. Yes, that's what made me leave America. I left America in disgust and anger. Ma'am, I worked in my congressman's office. So let me tell you how we got the houses. The Congressional Black Caucus had an initiative called WOW, with ownership wealth. And the goal was to increase Black. Yes. And the goal was to increase Black home ownership by 1 million between 2000 and 2010. So every day I would go to my congressman's office and do my part for WOW. I'm talking about making copies, planning seminars, doing follow-up calls, keeping records, filing papers, you name it. I'm doing my part to get people in houses as a teenager. Okay, then they played this game with the banks. They literally targeted our people. Look this man up. Type in Mark Diamond, Chicago. Mark Diamond was a man who was going around the west side of Chicago swindling people out of their houses. They literally just convicted him last month, but he had been doing this for 17 years, and he stole $6 million worth of properties from people. Like, people over here are celebrating that Mark Diamond is in jail. So they were scamming us out of our houses that I worked hard to get people in. I could have been kissing boys after school, okay? That's what I like to do. But instead, I'm doing my part for WOW, and they want to just play with us. I took that to be a personal affront, and that's why I left America. Really. I couldn't take it.
Oh my goodness, that is rich and epic. But yeah, it was crazy to me to see Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac be complicit in mortgage-backed securities and adjustable rate mortgages to dupe us out of our homes. And then he had the unmitigated gall to bail out Wall Street and the banks and didn't put any regulation on them. They didn't have to lend back the money he gave to them that cost us our homes. And everything he did was too little too late. Everything he did was too little too late, but that was by design. And over 50% of us lost our housing in that debacle, trying to have something to bequeath our children. It was I see how that could drive you out of the country. It was just horrible. And so you have that, and then next the pandemic, and then all this money flowing. And I like what you said in that video I played at the top of the broadcast. I don't know if it was you. Maybe I've seen so much stuff, but basically, I think it was a gentleman who spoke before you, actually. He was talking about how they're making us pay for our own extinction. That's pretty much what they're doing. And that's what they did with the OVK monies. The OVK monies were repurposed. Black folks never really saw that on a scale that these NGOs and these illegals, they constantly, and then this is the same thing that Skamala and Janet Yellen, excuse me, I have nicknames for these dreadful people. So I know it doesn't seem very professional, but this is like a family kind of thing. Like, it's just something I put together to educate and edutain. I edutain. I'm not stuffy like that. So forgive me. Some of the times I like to call them their little nicknames. But basically, she and Janet Yellen weaponized the Freedman Bank Forum to give money to the banks and to these immigrants. She gave enough money to Luis Pasteur out of North Carolina that he was able to amass $1 billion to his credit union. And he talked about the 126 ethnicities that he's got in North Carolina and how he was going to use that money to lend it to his people for businesses and for homes. You hear me? And so that's what they're actually doing. Everything that we work so hard for, between our taxes and Social Security, in the same way you just explained it happened with the WOW program, it happens with everything concerning us. Civil rights. Did you know that when they passed the Civil Rights Act, on the heels of that, they passed the Immigration Act to usurp our advances with the Civil Rights Act? I think the Civil Rights Act was 64. The Immigration Act was 65.
68.
It was 68?
Yes,
what?
ma'am.
The Civil Rights?
No, the Immigration Act of 1968.
Okay. All I'm saying is the minute we got a leg up with civil rights, they found a way to come and obfuscate it and start to repurpose it. The same way they done our 14th Amendment, the same way they done our affirmative action.
But who did that? The Democratic Party.
Democrats.
The Democrats.
Democrats. Yeah.
This is the party of the Confederacy. They're the party of the Confederacy. Literally. Nothing changed, friends. Nothing at all. They have always been invested in diminishing the Negro. And they do that by importing new people. Frederick Douglass told us this in the 1840s. Hell, here we are almost 200 years later having the same conversation about the same people doing the same things. This is why I tell people all the time, how are you literate and still a Democrat? Like, you can read. I can read. All this information is out here, but you want to fight me for these people who have invested generationally in your demise, legislatively. They do it.
Yes.
Yes.
And they literally got our electorate voting for it. Like, I know I'm not blaming the people, but I am blaming the leadership, which, oh, by the way, is mostly immigrant now.
Yes.
And so they're fighting for themselves. They're not fighting for us. They like to cast out these little HR 40 BS where it's all black and they know you can't do nothing by race anymore. We must do it by lineage. We had that fight here in California. But I digress. Back to the Freedmen Bank Forum. Yes, ma'am. They absolutely took our forum and told the soil, the contemporary grassroots reparations movement. Some of my comrades showed up to the forum about the third year in, third or fourth, because they did it. She did this every year she was in office. Her and Janet Yellen, in the name of the Freedmen Bank, which Congress robbed, pillaged, took everything from it, and still owes. They took that and managed to find a way to enrich the banks, to enrich the immigrants, and told us we could not come in. There was only one guy from our movement here in California that got access to those meetings, while the rest of them were turned away after being confirmed. Anyway, it's exhausting, sis, but I do want to ask you this.
Yeah.
When did you see a shift in your situation in Chicago? And I want to know, because Chicago, I'm from Ohio, and so Dayton, Ohio, to be exact. And we were, and still are for the most part, predominantly Black, but it's changing. I wanted to ask you, when did you start seeing a change? Because I know Chicago was predominantly Black. I mean, it's the haven of Black intellect and Blacks getting things done. It has always been up against the mob, as far as I'm concerned, which was the leadership and is the leadership. When did you see a shift? Have you seen a bigger, you said your neighborhood is 85% Black. How are you able to hold on to those numbers in light of the Democrats' erasure and replacement plans and gentrification?
We fight back. Ain't nobody playing with these people. See, the only reason, so the Mexicans, the Hispanics, came and took the houses, bought them for cash, the houses that we lost in this subprime crisis. Oh, yeah. So this is what, again, took me to the White House.
How did they have the cash? How?
Through the cartel. Let me tell you, and this is not hearsay. So I got Black Excellence Hour, a show for people with high self-esteem, like us on Facebook. However,
I ask you, I want to put it in the chat. Black Excellence Hour and
on Facebook. On Facebook. Black Excellence Hour on Facebook. Like the show and catch the vibe. I have
and the lives are Sundays at 6:30 at 7 Central Standard Time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're working on getting back on the radio. So yeah, just like the page and we can catch up. It's a wonderful show. It was the top radio show in the city, and they got me off the air because we were turning the city out. However, I had General Michael Flynn on the show, who was the former National Security Advisor for the United States of America. He came on my show and told all of us in Chicago that the cartel is here laundering their money through our real estate market by buying the stuff for cash, and that they have compromised our government through political contributions. And this is why they're going so hard to keep the sanctuary city ordinance, because everything has been compromised by these terrorists from the South. Now, my Donnie just designated them terrorists. So I've been telling people, just wait, all the houses about to go on sale. Everything that they've been buying for cash, my Donnie is coming to take all of this back, because all of this is cartel money. So that's how they did it. However, after the subprime crisis, they started showing up and fixing the houses and then moving into the houses. But we don't move. Like I said, I've been in my people been there for 52 years. The people across the street from me been there for 50 years. The people next door to them been there for 30 years. So everybody holds on to their properties, because we're literally a small village. I got my maternal building that my mama and my granddaddy bought in 72. And then on my daddy's side, we still got our building too, that we bought, the Easley house that we got in 72, that my cousins live in. So I still got the properties on both sides of my family. I'm still on 104 years of property taxes in the city of Chicago. And so we don't play that. We love our neighbors. We love it over here. When I tell you we love it on the west side of Chicago, we love it over here because we love each other. As long as you're not in the street life, if you're in the street life, it can be dangerous. But for the most part, if you like, we like to barbecue, we like to hang on porches, we keep our gates unlocked because you might have to borrow some sugar, you know, that kind of stuff. We watch each other's
community.
kids. community. It's a community. Like I said, you got to speak to people. If someone tell your mama, I saw her, she didn't even speak to me, you're going to get in trouble for being impolite. Like, this is a very country town and we love it here. So when we noticed that they were starting to come take over, that's what made me say, wait a minute. I got to go talk to Dr. Ben Carson because the Chicago Housing Authority had been hoarding $1 billion of federal housing funds for 20 years. So this is why we got all these vacant lots. They talk about them tearing down the schools or closing 50 schools. They had to close the schools because they demolished the housing stock, the multifamily housing stock. So now we got blocks missing houses all around, built 6-unit buildings, 8-unit buildings, 2 flats, all knocked down. So now the schools don't have kids because the kids don't have houses. You got to close the school. So I'm saying spend the money, spend the housing money and let us rebuild on top of these lots so we can open the schools back and rebuild the communities. And we all with it. Like I said, the people like P. Rae, how are you doing this in Chicago? Don't you feel in danger? No, I don't feel danger. I got the police, I got the preachers, I got the gangbangers, I got the politicians, everybody whispering in my ear, go P. Rae, go. We're so happy that you're doing this. Yeah, because again, they got more to lose than me. This isn't easy for me. This isn't easy. I tell people that too. This is not something I enjoy. Sometimes I want to wake up and make biscuits and salmon croquettes, but I can't do that. I got to put my shoes on and go stick it to the man for stuff that we are entitled to. If we didn't fight back, they would have tore us up. So because we're fighting back,
because we're done here in California. We're done. I mean, it's so bad. They're literally out here begging Black folks or Black-looking folks, melanated folks that run the California Legislative Black Caucus for reparations. This is what happens when folks vote the couch. I tell them all the time, you don't have to like the president. You can vote for third party, write yourself in, I don't care. But when you don't show up, you get your whole city run by immigrants who are quick to tell you to get over it. Quick to tell you to forget about your past, forget about slavery, give up the fight for reparations. That's who you have to answer to. And that's what's happened to us out here. And all folks got is frustration and hurt feelings.
So let me tell you how you get around that.
Yes.
You got to empower your people. So one thing we do is we never talk bad about people. We never talk bad about ourselves. We never talk about We never talk bad about ourselves. We never talk bad about the community. You never talk bad about the ancestors. We remind people that we are as American as sweet potato pie. And so for that reason, this our country and we at home. All these people trying to tell you what to do, these are the children of the immigrants. They ain't got no opinion over you. You know what you got to do. That's what I told Dr. Carson. You give us the money, we can fix it ourselves. Make CHA spend this money. We the children of the Mississippi cotton pickers. Ain't nobody gonna outwork us. You know what I'm saying? Are you serious? He like, you funny because I know girls like you from Detroit, but it's serious. So you got to empower the people. It's not political. It's self-esteem, patriotic esteem. Give everybody patriotic esteem. Remind them that y'all people, well, you're from Dayton, Ohio, but the average Negro from California is from Texas or Louisiana. Remind them that they come from that good old Creole stock that's 100% American. And your people did not make it out of them Louisiana swamps to sunny California for you to get a tax money away to some Mexicans. No. Once you say it like that, they say, wow, you're right. And then they join you.
That's real talks as well. I got a lot of work to do. We have gone down from 17 to 3% of the population out here. And that's what I love about what you're doing and why I had to have you as a guest was because I am just thrilled to see you guys joining forces and really fighting back and making great ground and great traction. I thank you so much for that. Did y'all hear? Well, let's see what she's saying here. Queen Yasmin says, did y'all hear CJ got a Republican to represent a bill for the Freedmen Agency? I did hear about that, Queen Yasmin. I was actually going to mention that on tomorrow's broadcast, but I'm thankful that you brought it up. So in effect, I don't know if you know this part, P. Rae, but the California Legislative Black Caucus stopped their own bills from coming to the floor. And this Republican named Easley was up in Sacramento telling them to put it to a vote, that he don't necessarily support it, but he made a motion to put the bill on the floor. And Byron Isaacs, I think that's his name, a melanated dude. I don't even know if he's one of us. He looks like he could be biracial maybe, but he literally got into a fight with Easley to about not bringing the bill to the floor when the Republican was trying to motion to get the bill on the floor and time was running out. Well, they have played the California Black Legislative Caucus have played around with this so much that now they've given it to Republican Bill Easley. Not only did they play around with it, they've changed it and altered it to try to all lives matter our reparations after 2 years of task force hearings and 1,100 pages worth of harms and recommendations. So now instead of passing what Representative Stephen Bradford came up with to put on the floor, which they refused to put their own bill on the floor because they're in bed with Gavin Newsom. He did not want that bill to come to the floor because they were in an election year with Skamala, and he knew if he vetoed that bill when it got to his desk, that she was going to lose. Little did he know she was going to lose anyway because Chicago Red, the reparationist perspective, and a myriad of people all throughout the country from the soil who got busy to get that vote going for Trump. But this is a great, great thing, and I am going to talk about that, Queen, on tomorrow's broadcast. There was a couple other things, and then I'll get to the questions because, I have a lot of questions for you, but I'm not going to go through all of them because you've been so gracious to come on here right on the heels of coming back from D.C. Okay, I got to talk about your mayor. What is this I'm hearing? First of all, let's talk about how he stopped y'all from upending Chicago as a sanctuary city. Could you touch on that for my viewers?
Yes, ma'am. I always say that should be called a P-Ray ordinance because when I was hosting Black Excellence Hour on the radio, I had said to the people of Chicago, y'all, we're going to get some petitions and we're going to fill them out so we can get an ordinance or a referendum on the ballot that says, should Chicago remain a sanctuary city, yes or no? So come on, y'all, we're going to make it work. So then an alderman called, yes, ma'am, on the show, live, on the air. So then an alderman called me and he was like, yo, P-Ray, you don't got to do that. We're going to bring it up on the floor of the city council. I'm like, all right, cool. So they try to bring it up on the floor. The floor leader is a Hispanic man. He's Mexican and Puerto Rican, Carlos Rosa. Carlos Rosa was intimidating people not to show up to work so that they wouldn't have a quorum and they could not vote. He physically restrained and manhandled my 72-year-old alderman from the west side of Chicago. She stood up and gave a speech and said that she felt like she was back.
Uh-oh, somebody's calling.
She was back down south being manhandled. So it really hurt her feelings. So, and he tried to disenfranchise my ward, like literally, yes. She's the rep from my ward. She tried to disenfranchise all of us in Black Chicago on the west side. So long story short, it eventually comes up to a vote. And then Brandon was the tie-breaking vote to say that, no, we're not going to vote on whether or not we should be a sanctuary city. We never voted for it. It was an ordinance. It was an executive order by Harold Washington that became an ordinance through Rahm and given teeth through Lori. So we never had anything to do with this as the voter. And the fact of the matter is, it showed that he's more invested in them than he is in respecting our democratic process.
I saw what happened to your representative, and that was just diabolical. I did want to ask you, I just recently heard that BJ is trying to get $830 million additional dollars for these illegals. What is going on? I thought you guys voted that down. Is he able to work around you to get this taxes put on the people? What's going on?
So we were successful in successful in defeating the property tax increase. They wanted to increase property taxes by $300 million for them. And absolutely not. Again, we pay it. It's expensive. When we inherit these buildings from our grandparents had senior tax exemptions. But when they pass away, you lose that exemption and then your taxes go back up. And so this is how people lose their buildings as well. So we trying to hold on, trying to pay our taxes, and then you want to increase the taxes for them? Absolutely not. So the aldermen all said no to that. So now they're trying to get a bond, a municipal bond, so that, and for $830 million, so that they can fund it indirectly. So it won't be a direct property tax, but it'll be an indirect property tax because it's borrowing on the municipal level rather than directly taxing the homeowners.
So that's going to happen?
They're trying to get the vote. I texted my alderman and told her, don't vote for me. I live here. Don't vote for that. I'm telling you, because you know, a lot of times when you talk to these legislators and you're like, why did you vote for that trash? They're like, oh, nobody said not to. So now I'm making my business to call everybody and say, don't vote for that. I represent my block, okay? I represent my block and the 2 blocks next to me, and we don't want that. You know, and they know that, you know, I organize for people. We'll pull up at your house. I used to have Trump rallies in front of Brandon House. I did it twice.
I love it.
Yeah. You know, what my alderman, she told me, she said, one thing about you, P. Rae, is that when you come to City Hall, you gonna make us work. You coming to make people work, you gonna make them do what they gotta do. So now we're telling them we don't want the bond. And I told them too, now that my Donnie has won, these people going home. So why are we still legislating on their behalf?
I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
So, okay. Okay, I got 2 more questions. I'll get to the comments. Could you give us a little bit of how we can do what Chicago Red is doing for our communities? First of all, I swear, sis, it looks like this is what you do full time. I guess I need something practical on how we can get involved as working stiffs and working 2 and 3 jobs and trying to manage families. How do we do what you've managed to do for Chicago? I'm
somebody's whole mama, okay? That's the first thing.
I
got
know.
an 8th grader who attends a local high school here. My baby got a 4.56 GPA. So I do this mama stuff just like I do this Chicago Red stuff, okay? I do mama stuff a little harder. So that's the first thing. If you want the time, you're going to find the time. The second thing is what you got to do again is affirm your people. That's it. Talk to the ladies at the nail shop. Talk to the people at the grocery store. Get on, like we got a lot of Chicago pages, growing up in the Chi, real life in the Chi. I throw all my MAGA stuff in there. You know, at first people were like, whoa, you know, you cool. But now they like, P. Rae, we rock with that. You know, you've been with that. You've been on this. It makes sense. We sorry. We was cussing you out. We didn't understand. And again, you got to grant your people grace. Keep pushing the message of patriotism, Negro patriotism. This is our country, y'all. This is our country. There's nowhere in the world for the Negro to find refuge. You see what happened when we tried that in Liberia, okay? There's no place going to open their door for us. So we got to do our part to keep this country great because our people are buried deep, bone and flesh in this land. So you got to honor those people that came before you. Teach people to honor themselves. Like right now, we're doing a Black History Month event with my group, Every Block a Village, and a Brother's Hood. Chicago Red was there doing voter registration, but we're doing a Black History Month exhibition every week. And so we got performers, we got researchers. A lady came today, she's like, oh my God, I got a doll collection. Can I bring my doll collection next week? I'm like, yeah, girl, bring that too. It's Black History Month. So we celebrate ourselves here. We love each other. We feed each other. Like I said, you can't walk with your head down. Start showing love to your people because our movement is not political. It's patriotic esteem and it's love. And love compels one to act. So if you show people love and make them feel love, they're going to come on your side.
Okay, and should we, I see you guys at the city council meetings. Is that something else we should get to know our aldermen?
Yes, absolutely. Get to know your aldermen, make friends, shake a hand, make a I'm on Do Not Disturb, which means they're calling me twice. But I'm sorry. I'm just blowing up.
I know you're in demand.
Yes.
I'm not going to keep you too much longer. City council meetings, aldermen.
Yes, get to know your alderman, your state rep, your U.S. congressman. All these people work for you. When they have their town hall meetings and all that, show up and go. It's very, very important that all of this stuff happens. They have to know you and your name. With us, we shake a hand and make a friend. So even as Republicans, I still work with Democrats. I just talked to an alderman and I told him, come to my next press conference. I ain't gonna wear my MAGA hat, but I need you to be with me because we on the same business, the same type of time. He's like, okay, P. Rae, I'll think on that. You see, like, you gotta be present and you gotta make friends. You cannot go to city council and cuss them people out and think that they're gonna do what you asked them to do. Never. Don't nobody want to get cussed out and yelled at and insulted at their job. No, don't do that. It don't work like that. You're gonna get put out and put in jail. Go up there with some decency and decorum and give them the facts of the policy. You're going to make those friends, and then you can take those legislative friends, bring them back to your village, and get the tools and resources you need.
I love that, sis. Well, let me get to PD. Can
I ask you to give me one moment? I'm getting so many calls. Give me one moment. Can we take a quick break? Okay, give me.
Well, you know what? We can. You know what? As a matter of fact, can I take this last question and let you go? Because I know you're busy. Okay,
like I said, I'm somebody's home mama. So yeah, I'm judging.
I know, sis, and I'm so grateful to you. I can't believe you did this on the hills of DC. This will be the last.
You deserve it. You deserve it. If it was not, like I said, I just wanted to take a quick break, like a 30-second reprieve. And I was going right back.
Okay, if you want to, girl. These people go long, child. Please. Okay, guys. So PD, we'll get to yours. When your question when she gets back. Let me see what y'all saying over here. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I hope you guys are having as grand a time as I am. This is a real treat. She's a very busy lady, as we all are. I'm not discounting that. Some of you just joined and tuned in. Forgive me. I've been overcoming the flu, didn't have a voice, was coughing. I didn't want to be on here coughing and hacking. We've got a rich broadcast for you. I mean, Lord have mercy. Y'all just need to bring your pens and pads. I got so much to go over. I think what I'm going to start doing is a week in review as the world of the Negro descendant turns and just throw in a hodgepodge of different things because, child, the news and that cycle is just evolving so fast and revolving so fast, I can barely keep up. If I miss a week, I'm a month behind, it feels like. Okay, so Michael says, I think that Mayor Johnson identifies as an African. Well, I'm not really sure what his lineage is, but I do know that a lot of the elected officials are scrubbing where they descend from. They're scrubbing the fact whether or not they're first or second gen, because it is their goal to keep us voting for our own ethnocide, economic genocide. And when you see that you've got a congressional Black caucus that isn't doing a thing for you, the reason being is that they're there for their people. They're there in position now to take it over, thanks to the Black vote, the Negro vote, or lack thereof. Now, why do I refer to us as Negroes? Well, Negro is on my birth certificate, as many of you day ones know. About 22 million of us are Negro. And I'm digging my heels into that identifier because it's on my birth certificate. It was how my parents were referenced. Oh, she's back. Okay, let me shut up. Okay, I'm going to go. Okay, so I want to ask you, since this is up on the screen and you came back to give us just a little more time. Thank you so much. Well, you got to go, girl. You better just say, I got to get off your Ferris wheel, child.
No.
They go
No, we're fine.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you too long. Let me just get to the pertinent comments and questions. Michael says, I think that Mayor Johnson identifies as an African. I was just sharing with our people that oftentimes they're scrubbing whether or not they're first or second gen because our people are so stuck on identity and respectability parlay tricks that they end up voting them into office. And now that we are started asking who you, now they're scrubbing it. Do you know what Mayor Johnson's ethnicity is?
I've been told that he's a Haitian, but I do know that he comes from a large Negro family. There are 10 of them. Somebody actually called my station and said, like, I'm Brandon Cousin and we Negroes from the West Side, stop playing with us, right? So
not calling you out on your own broadcast.
Man, it goes down in Chicago. It's a crazy town.
Okay, sis. Well, he looks Haitian.
But I say that to say he is more invested. See, we have to understand that Brandon is a part of the Chicago Teachers Union. And
that's a conflict of interest.
Correct, because the Chicago Teachers Union has been going to Venezuela for the past decade, building relationships with that socialist government and its people. So we can conclude that the Chicago Teachers Union was down there passing out maps and inviting those people to come to Chicago. Now that Brandon is the mayor, he's making good on the relationships that they've been building over the past decade. So when I went on Fox News, I told them America needs to look into why does the Chicago Teachers Union have a relationship with the Venezuelan government? And how does that connect to all of them coming up here, eating up our tax money? So that's why Brandon is more aligned with them. The union paid for his campaign, I think $3 million. When they went on strike, a couple of provisions in their contract was for illegals to work in the schools, for each school to have a legal fund to help the illegals. So I told them, y'all went on strike and put Black kids out of school to get jobs for illegals in the Chicago public schools after firing all these Black people in the Chicago public schools. That's what they own. That's what type of time they're on. And one thing about me is my mama, shout out to my mama. She a nerd. She put me in a speed reading class when I was 8 years old at Malcolm X College here on the West Side. So I can read, baby. I can read. And so I read the whole contract. And that stipulation for the illegal workers was like on page 39, section 41. So I'm like, yo, let me read this to y'all, Chicago. Let me tell y'all what page 39, section 41 say. And they're like, what? But they don't show you that. They don't promote that. They're not used to having people actually read them the legislation. So that's what Brandon on. That's all Brandon is doing the business of the union, which includes getting jobs for people from the third world, because their goal is to make this into a socialist enclave. And we don't want to be socialists. This Chicago, the city of the hustler. We are capitalists here. We don't want anybody to give us nothing. Just give us what we need to build what we want.
To flourish and get out the way.
Ma'am.
Well, how in the world can he accept contributions of that magnitude? I heard something else about him receiving money from the Chicago Teachers Union. I've heard that Negro teachers have been legislated out of principal positions and teaching positions. How is this able to go down?
Because the Teachers Union came out en masse to vote for Brandon. Okay, so now they got the power. But we have to understand that Brandon's opponent was a man named Paul Vallis, and Paul Vallis was the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools in the 90s. So the union already had an issue with Paul. So the people my age got an issue with Paul, right? In our minds, Paul Vallis is a boogeyman because he was over the schools, he was changing stuff. There was a lot of bad energy around him. So no Chicago millennials who graduated from the Chicago public schools were never voting for Paul Vallis. Our parents are never voting for Paul Vallis. Nobody, because that was a very bad time for us. So the people voted against Paul, not for Brandon. But when Brandon got in, the first thing they said was the first thing we're going to do is get the money. They literally said this, the teachers union. So they thought that they were going to ram this agenda through the city council, take all of our tax money to fulfill their agenda. And Chicago Red said, no, you ain't. Nope. We're not doing that.
Shut it down?
Yes. Yes, we are literally the ops. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Yeah.
How did you do it?
We start showing up to city council, pulling up on the alderman. When you go to, the alderman, for the most part, these are Chicagoans as well. So when I went there and I spoke to them about Wanda needing the rehab, everybody knows somebody that needs to go to rehab in their family. Okay. So that's something that grates at the heart of everybody there. And again, they didn't vote for that budget. Or when they talk about the $300 million, I go up there and I'm like, yo, me and my cousins talking about taxes in the cousin group chat now. We shouldn't have to do this if we are paying for illegals. No, we need jobs. We need infrastructure. We need stop signs. Like, help us. Again, that speaks to the people collectively, and then you can drive policy, because what people want to do is get reelected. But because our message is so Chicago-centric, regardless of what your socioeconomic class, race, ethnicity, whatever that is, we're all suffering the same. And people are listening. We are living. Then Brandon did an interview one day. He's like, yeah, these people are coming to city council and they think they run in the city. They're not elected officials. They're not. I'm like, just say my name, Brandon. You ain't got to do that. And then, you know, we live in the same neighborhood, right? We literally live in the same neighborhood. Again, it's the village. So I get a lot of messages from people. And they be like, yo, P. Rae, Brandon said, like, you going too hard on him. You giving the mayor anxiety. Lay up on the brother. And I'm like, no, like, we got to fight, y'all. Do y'all see what they're trying to do? We're in the middle of an invasion. This ain't the time for friendship. Yes, we know him. We might see him at the grocery store, but this ain't friendship. This is life. You know, like we gotta stop the invasion because these people came up here. They put measles in the Chicago public schools. We were the epicenter of measles in North America last year in Chicago, because they put so many unvaccinated children in the schools. And when we say unvaccinated, not with that other thing, but the regular schedule of stuff you're supposed to get, they didn't have it. So they came to the school, they made the kids sick, they made the city sick. You see, like there was a little boy who passed away in the shelter, Javier. Jean Javier is his name. He was a Venezuelan. When Jean Javier died, he was 5 years old and he had 5 communicable viruses in his body. John Javier was eligible to go to the Chicago public schools. So that little baby with all that disease and cold in his body would have been in a kindergarten class making everybody sick.
Ooh.
You see,
that is just unconscionable. That's what they did though. I call them our small pock blankets, POC. I do. That's my nickname for that because they're unvetted and they're unvaxxed. And so between the, like you said, disease riddled bodies and the guns and the cartels and the gangs that are being dumped into Black communities, that's why I've labeled them that. Small pock blankets. Let's go to Ivy Dream's comment. She says, please talk to the president about delineation. Now, to her point, given that it was so just disappointing in DC during the Black History Month celebration, just a bunch of symbolism being offered, nothing real tangible to move us forward. And you've got such a relationship with your Donnie. Are you able to go back in there and demand a meeting about our most serious pressing issues? We've only got 4 years with your Donnie. I don't know that J.D. Vance is going to be this attentive to the Negro the way Donald Trump has been. What can you speak to that?
So it's not as easy as one thinks. Okay, it's not like I got this number and there are a whole bunch of gatekeepers. I'll say that the gatekeeping is off the chain. However, my Donnie hears me because I'm on Fox News all the time. That's what my Donnie
Yes, you are.
Me. So when I go on Fox News, I specifically talk on the Negro. I don't talk about Black. I don't talk about African American. I say I am an American Negro, which makes me a part of the non-immigrant class, and I'm only here to discuss the Negro. And so people around America hear that as well. One woman hit me up. She said, "Baby, I had to find you because they haven't been talking about the Negro in a very long time in this country, and you have brought us back up to the mainstream." Absolutely. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going on these shows. I'm telling them we don't want to be Black anymore because that's how y'all tried to trick us with Kamala. That's how y'all tricked us with Obama. Those are not Negroes. They're not going to speak to the Negro issue, and we don't need any more foreigners speaking on our behalf about an experience that doesn't belong to them. They're just as foreign to our tribe as any white man. Okay, we represent ourselves. We are able to talk about ourselves. We don't need anybody to tell us anything. When these people's families showed up wet, we were here paying taxes. Okay, paying taxes and eating cornbread. That's what I said on Fox Time. They loved it. They're like, paying taxes and eating cornbread. Yes, we were here when all y'all showed up doing that as full Americans. So we gotta push that message. I push that through my organization. I tell them, when you go on Fox News, you better talk about the Negro. And that's all you better talk about. We don't hear nothing about no Black on Black crime. We don't hear about no Black fatherless lists. We not talking about nothing but Negro business. Do y'all understand? They're like, yes, and we doing it. So, that's how we gonna get this out because they don't know. And then when I talk to white people about this, they're like, oh, we didn't know. And I'm like, of course you didn't know because we didn't tell you. So again, as we are explaining this to them, because I go to a lot of white spaces on Twitter. I'm talking about the whitest of white spaces. I be in there. And explain this stuff to them. Yeah, the Europeans can't take me. Oh, the Europeans get so mad. I'm like, shut up, you from a third world country. They're like, but you're black. I'm like, no, I'm a Negro, honey. North American, we better than all of y'all. My people not coming to your country, okay? But you're so fleeing the man. Okay, anyway, I digress. So I go in these white spaces and I explain the Negro. We are a hybrid people of African, Native, and European descent exclusively found on the North American continent. That's what makes us all coppery and glowing. That's why everybody trying to bleach and get this glow. You ain't gonna get it. It's in the blood. Okay, we know who we are, and because of that,
Where's the mic when I need one? I need to drop a mic.
But yes, so we know who we are. You know, when they say, oh, when it's time to get reparations, who are we going to pay? I said, what makes you think we don't know who we belong to? But my reparations fight is for Jim Crow reparations, okay? Because
mine too.
Yes, ma'am.
So mine too. My fight for reparations is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, and it's an easier ask for Jim Crow because Jim Crow was literally state-sponsored domestic terrorism. And there is a fund that currently exists in the U.S. government for victims of state-sponsored domestic terrorism. All we got to do is get ourselves a delineation, then get a court to declare Jim Crow an act of domestic terrorism and get a judgment from the U.S. government, and this fund pays us and our heirs. It pays for the September 11th victims, the Panama victims, the Iran-Contra victims, anybody that's been a victim of state-sponsored terrorism. The U.S. government got a fund for that. So we got to look at ourselves as victims of state-sponsored terrorism that was done domestically by the U.S. government. And everybody knows that there's proof of that. When I go on Fox News, like I was on Fox Business, and the woman brought up reparations. I'm like, reparations on Fox? Wow. And I told her the same thing. My mother is a Jim Crow survivor. Any Negro born before 1965, before the Civil Rights Act, you are a Jim Crow survivor, and you are entitled to reparations from the U.S. government because it took an act of Congress to make them stop.
Girl, that's powerful. I never thought of it in that context.
Yeah,
I just want to say it in a sweeping way because it's not just slavery. It's not just slavery. You don't become bottom caste all just from slavery.
Well, so it wasn't slavery. It wasn't slavery that did it to us, because after slavery we had that Reconstruction period, and it was popping, honey. Okay, I'm a Hamptonian,
it was
so I know
they brought the troops out of the South to leave us to be lynched.
Voila! In 1880, that's when the campaign of state-sponsored terrorism began, and it was from 1880 to 1965. Slavery, we were not citizens, okay? We fought a war. We lost a lot of people. Thank you to the Union. Thank you to the Republican Party. We appreciate it. But what happened between 1880 and 1965 happened to us as citizens, full citizens of the United States of America. The federal government allowed it to happen. The state and municipal governments executed it. And it took a series of federal acts to make them stop this systemic terrorism. Therefore, we are victims of terrorism, and we got to stand on it like that. That's how you get paid. Nobody can talk against that. Nobody can say the Irish got to shut up because the Irish were trying to bust our heads in Chicago, okay? We're not doing none of that. When we
Irish were made white.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That way we don't got to talk about the Hispanics. We don't got to talk about the Chinese building the railroads. We don't got to talk about the Italians being lynched down in Louisiana. None of that. We talking about a system of terrorism that only happened to a very specific people. That's how you get paid.
So why don't we sue for that right now? We don't need delineation. We got birth certificates to show who we are.
Well, you got to do the delineation because they want to do it for the heirs. So like my mother and father's original birth certificate here in Cook County, Chicago, states Negro, right? But mine says Black. So it's a difference because that Blackness got a whole bunch of immigrants in it. So we got to get all of that Blackness out of there. No more Blackness. It's all about the Negro. We got to get Negro back in the federal record. We got to start being captured as American Negro people or freedmen, because freedmen is a status. Once we get that together, that's when we execute the lawsuit. But first, we got to get our delineation through the OMB. This is, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. But this is what's been making sense to me when I pray on it and ask God to give me the answers.
Well, you do know that we went to the OMB and they denied us delineation because Mark Morial from the National Urban League, who I do believe is immigrant, maybe not, maybe Creole, he was the one to come in after the hearings. About 20,000 of us rolled up there talking about we were fighting for our delineation. He said, no, it's discriminatory against the other blacks, the melanated immigrants. And that would be a form of discrimination if they couldn't be included. All the while knowing that including them waters down our justice claim. We can't get anything accomplished with them tethering on to us in this way.
We got to go back and push for Negro. Now, a lot of people got the ADOS, the FBA. I don't say none of that. Ain't none of that in the federal record. They not going to add nothing to the federal record, okay? We got to use what's already there, and that's Negro and that's Freedman, okay? So we got to figure out which one we going to call ourselves, and we got to make the U.S. government stand on that. We don't let some King and Irishman delete us from the U.S. federal record. Who is he?
Right.
Who? You know what I'm saying? Did nobody ask him for that? But he had to do that in order to tether himself onto us. And we're saying, we don't want you. Go back to the Kenyan Irish people because the Negro stands alone. We don't need anybody trying to come and speak on our behalf. We don't need anybody to come and tell us what's wrong with us. We don't need anybody to come give us any solutions. Actually, just give us our peace and leave us alone. Leave us alone. We don't want your help. All we want is for you to give us what we are entitled to. You're not doing us no favor. And the amount for Jim Crow has been studied and quantified so much that this is an easy ask. They know what they did. They know what they continue to do. They know even to this day. Even what I told you about the housing crisis. Let me tell you how that was an act of racism. So, you know, they tore down all the projects in Chicago, right?
Yes.
Like Good Times, all that, that's over with. So that displaced anywhere between 150 to 200,000 Negroes, okay? So then, oh yes, that's why we got Chicago people everywhere now. You see people showing up in all these random spots. I'm from Chicago. That's because their house got knocked to the ground. So first they knocked down the projects. That was in the early 2000s. Then they ran the scheme with the subprime crisis in the late 2000s. So we had a whole decade of Black Chicagoans literally being displaced. And then over the next few years, that's when these Hispanics start coming in. You see? Ain't nobody stupid. I know what this is. So I say that to say these are ongoing issues that we're dealing with. They had a Senate hearing where they talked about the subprime crisis, and these banks sat and did a congressional hearing and said they specifically targeted and preyed upon us. And that went unpunished. You see, all of these things go into our claim for Jim Crow terrorism. This is ongoing, and they don't get to treat us like this in our own country. Not when they paying reparations to the illegals for being mistreated at the border. How?
Ain't that something, girl? Ooh, child, just makes me want to holler. This person, Michael, says Kendrick Lamar emphasized cash payment reparations for Black American freedmen of chattel slavery. Did you get to see that halftime performance?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What'd you think about that? I loved it.
Kendrick Lamar is from Chicago. You know, his mama and daddy straight from the rag, baby. So it's funny.
I thought he was from Compton.
No, he's from Compton. So his parents took their Section 8 and moved to Compton, but they from Chicago. Yes. Oh. They from Chicago. He used to come up here for the summers, all kind of stuff. Like he's a Chicagoan at his core. That was put in him. Again, you can't punk Chicago people. So I saw the halftime show. It was all Americana. Again, that came out of Chicago. We were the ones saying, wait a minute, y'all, we full Americans. What they doing over here? Take your flag out, Negroes. We at home. And so that became a national movement of patriotism. This is why the whole community is moving to the right, because it's more patriotic. We can see that we have value in this land, whereas the other side is all for immigrants, and that ain't got nothing to do with us. So I loved it. I loved it. I think it was a very MAGA message, even though it was like, you know, they're not like us. You know, make America great again. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I just love to see the Black bodies weaved into the fabric of the American flag and just the artistry of it all. Oh, it was just epic on so many levels. So, yeah, and I like all the breakdowns of some of the hidden messages. They say you have to be paying, okay, Gwen says, they say you have to be paying federal taxes in order to get that check. Oh, We're talking about the 5,000.
The Doge check.
The Doge checks. Well, honey, Gwen, I heard that that's not even until next year. I think that they have to see some rate of return. You have any thoughts on that, P. Rae?
Cut the check. I'm waiting on my stimmy. they got the route number and everything. I'll be so happy when it hit. Yes. Cut it.
What do you think about these bird brains like Jasmine Crockett and Jamel Hill and all these idiots who have a bigger platform than me out here talking about y'all don't need that $5,000? What? Jasmine Crockett said that. Jamel Hill took issue with Trump putting on a Black History Month celebration in the midst of supporting the senile Joe Crow, who told us when asked on the debate stage about reparations to get comfortable because Mexicans run this, and that's who you'll have to answer to when he met with the so-called civil rights leaders. Just the disrespect, never has given us credit for a thing, was the author of the 94 crime bill, was the author of open borders. I mean, he's diabolical. He is Strom Thurmond's boy. That's his protege. Crooked Hillary was a Barry Goldwater girl. Like, here they are caping for the Democrats, taking issue with Trump, trying to pay him out to be more of a racist than they are. I guess because they're covert racists, they get a pass. But what do you have to say about somebody who's worth around $9 million, who gets $150,000 a year for her current position, Representative Jasmine Crockett, sitting up here on one of these major news stations talking about how Trump is faking the funk and how, what are you going to do with $5,000? What is going on?
That's what they get paid to do. It's a script by the DNC. So Jamie Harrison, who was the past chair of the DNC, I tweet him all the time. And I'll be like, Jamie, this script ain't working. You know you finna lose, right? Jamie, you working hard, but y'all finna lose because ain't nobody, y'all played out like a Jerry curl. And that's how we gotta treat them, okay? Stop paying Jasmine any mind. Jasmine blocked me and Jamel blocked me on Twitter. And I don't care because I don't want to see them either, okay? They gotta know, as a people, we have to start muting their voices. Don't respond to them. Don't engage with them. They are fools. You know, I shouldn't call people fools because Matthew 5:23 said if you call somebody a fool, you're going to burn in hell. So I'm not going to say they're a fool, but they are imbeciles because they're not worthy of our conversation. They're not speaking on behalf of the people.
It's so upsetting, though.
It is very upsetting because Jasmine is all in her homegirl mood. She acting like she is at a reunion show and Andy Cohen finna come out the back and she gonna clap it up. Girl, no, you embarrassing us. That is not what Carrie Mosley Braun went to the Senate to do, who was the first Negro senator, female Negro senator in this country, right? So we're not doing that. You are diminishing the image of Black women in order to kowtow to the script that the Democratic Party has given you. Jamel has been scraping by ever since they fired her trying to get a Democrat check. We know that they're doing this for the bread. And that's okay. They got to pay their bills. If that's what you got to do to make your money, some people strip, some people shield. That's their business. But I'm not going to engage you. Again, I'm talking to my own people. We got our own message to get out. I don't have to, people be like, P. Rae, you don't say this or you don't do that. I don't got time for that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, sis. I'm listening, baby. I'm just trying to go through these comments. Michael was asking, he saw you on the interview with Phil Scott. Do you have a direct contact information on your show? Thanks. I don't really know. Could you unpack that? Because she definitely has her own broadcast of the Black Excellence Hour. It's on Facebook on Sundays at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I sure can't stand it. That's why I brought you on today. Because my broadcast is 5:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Us at the same time.
And I had to bring you today because tomorrow's show was already filled. But I don't like that. I try not to go at the same time as people I love. So I might have to revisit my window because I definitely want to be over and seeing what you're doing. Are yours recorded? Can I watch it on the archive?
You can actually go back. My best show I've ever done was with Siobhan Funches Wade, who is Dwayne Wade's first wife, Zion's mother. She has 2 boys, as she told us. And we talked about motherhood. and how we've been watching her motherhood be dragged for years and how she never stopped fighting for her babies. So we honored her for International Women's Day in 2023. And she came on the show and she talked about her baby and her situation. So that was my most fulfilling show that I ever done, because she said that's the first time she ever got a positive interview. And I told her, girl, everybody on your side. I said, if you ever come back to Chicago, you gotta go to court. I say, call us. We coming. We coming with you to court. She was like, what? Oh my God, I needed y'all. I'm like, I said, we grown now. We all grown people. We coming. So we show love. Like I said, love compels you to act. But if you want to keep up with me, you can see it in my name tag, my Twitter, at Chicago Red P.
Oh, I know your Twitter. Let me put that here for the people. Twitter.
Yeah, X is where I do my work, my best work. Some people can't take Twitter. I love it. Oh, I just love Twitter. Like slaughtering the bad Democrats. They couldn't take me. They like, ugh. I'm like, back to you. Because I'm an AKA. I went to Hampton. Yes, ma'am. I pledged to Gamma Theta chapter, spring 07, number 23, Miss Info. That's me. I went to Hampton on the full.
So you're not a regular boule. I think it's because your parents raised you on the West Side, baby. Because I couldn't pledge because I was like, no, power to the people.
So my mama is an AKA, my daddy is a Sigma. I tell people again, when you talk about boule, that's me. I'm literally, that's the
world. Not the boule that I hate. I can't stand most of them.
And so that's the thing. That's the thing. So this is what I learned about growing up boule. Okay, this is my whole life. This is all I know. It's Black excellence. I got 2 college educated parents. They both D9. I grew up in the hood. I went to school. I pledged. I moved to Africa, speak French, all kinds of stuff. I do a little bit of everything.
I love it.
But I say that to say that within the Black intellectual class, there are a couple of things happening. The root of it is low self-esteem, because a lot of Black intellectuals are not accepted by their communities, okay? You've been told that you act white or you're smart, and then they bus you to a school full of white children, so then you don't culturally align with your community anymore. So you are looking for a place to belong. And the Democratic Party and the liberals go on these college campuses and scoop them up by the bunch and tell them, we will validate you, come over here with us. See, you're special. You're the one. You take our message back to your people with your educated tone, and we will accept you and invite you to our galas. So for me, because I grew up in this, where I tell people, I've been to the gala, okay? I know to put my slip on, my stockings, curl my little bang under. Like, I had that experience. I don't want to eat the chicken and the roll and the green beans and the unsweetened tea. I don't want that no more, okay? I've done it. But a lot of people are looking for that experience. So they become educated and they think that they're going to join what I call the glitterati as well. 2, because the glitterati has low self-esteem and they're looking for validation, the glitterati also seeks to diminish people. So they look down on our people. They don't live in these neighborhoods. Even with me being a Hamptonian, a lot of people say, well, P. Rae, I can't believe you going with Trump. You off code. I told them, wait a minute. When you graduated, you didn't move back to your hood. I moved back to mine. You understand? Yeah. You're not living the same experience I'm living. I go out of my way every day to spend money with Black folks on the west side of Chicago, just like everybody else in the neighborhood does. You not living this experience. You don't know what it's like to have the cartel buy up your houses for cash and flood your hood with fentanyl. I had a homie who died off the fentanyl, okay? So again, like, this is not your experience, but because they don't have that experience and they look at the Black community as a place to flee rather than uplift, they don't do things to directly uplift the people because they are not directly invested. And here we are.
Well, honey, I am just so over the moon thrilled to meet a different kind of boule. I didn't even really know they existed. I was down in Atlanta bringing my daughter to school and just fell out with one of Skamala's line sisters. I don't even know how we got on the subject of the impending elections. But when she found out that I was leading the charge, for the protest voter strategy for deportation, closed borders, and was not in support of Skamala, it didn't go very well.
They was mad at me too. They say, Soror, you not gonna support our sister in this election. I told them, this ain't no political organization. I ain't pledged for politics. This is a service organization. We doing service and sisterhood up in here. I ain't come here to let y'all tell me nothing about my politics. My daddy taught me how to do this. This ain't got nothing to do with us. This ain't got nothing to do with it. And they're like, you right, Sora, because the AKA headquarters are in Chicago. So they were all listening to my show. I'm telling you, like, we turned this city out. They can't believe that I'm a AKA from the West Side, living in Austin, kicking it outside, listening to the blues on my porch, barbecuing, and and I'm a conservative because I'm proud of myself. I got high self-esteem. I support me for
You got Negro patriotism, baby.
Negro patriotism, and I don't need you to validate me because I already been validated. So, yes, ma'am. My people love me. I live in a neighborhood with all my family. My mama's side and my daddy's side live less than a mile from me. I got cousins everywhere. I don't care if they never speak to me again. I got some cousins that's gonna hang with me. I got some friends that's gonna hang with me. I don't care. And that's what they can't understand. And I still go to all the Democrat events, right? They have lunches, cook-offs, everything. I'm right there with the hand on, like, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? They like, look at her over there. I be booing them. Like, okay, I'll give you a story. They had a chili cook-off in the neighborhood. So I go to the chili cook-off, and they tallied up the tallies, gave the award, and said, wait a minute, roll it back, y'all. We got to count again. We did it wrong. I said, yeah, that's that Democrat counting. And they like, who said that? Man, get out of here, Ray. Go home. But I'm like, you gotta take me. Shoot. I ain't stealing. I ain't pimping no kids. I ain't selling no drugs. You gonna take me how I come because I accept you. And again, this is not to go sit at the Republican table and eat potato salad with raisins. Nobody wants that, okay? Nobody wants that. But what we got to do is go sit at both tables so that we can bring back everything we want to eat so we can have our own feast. We need people on both sides working it. And it's working. I'm telling you, y'all, it's working like a charm. Sometimes I get overwhelmed at how well it's working.
Oh, you are just truly my sister from another mister. I just adore you with everything you impart on this broadcast. Girl, I got to meet you in person. I do. I'm going to meet you. We're going to be hanging. We're going to be besties.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for choosing me as a friend.
I feel like family. You feel like family to me. Okay, so PD reports the news. Hi, fam. It was a Confederate president that came in and took back everything and gave it back to the Confederates, and that was Andrew Johnson. He was also against the 14th Amendment. Yeah. Very true. The Democratic Party are the creators of the KKK.
Yes, ma'am. That was my first viral video of me saying that the KKK walked so Antifa could run, and they all are the guerrilla warfare arm of the Democratic Party. So again, why are we engaging these people? We know better. We know they can't cut your lights off no more. Back in the day, if you didn't vote Democrat, they'd cut your line. You got to sit dark for a couple days.
It's crazy. I never
knew. Down in Chicago for the Democratic
They held
Party.
us hostage. Oh my God.
I want to give you this. Look up an article, and we can talk about this at another time. But I want you to do this research. Look up Ben Lewis, the murder that Chicago did not want to solve. Ben Lewis was the last elected official in the city of Chicago to be murdered in office in 1963 on the west side of Chicago. He was a Republican Negro man who flipped to the Democratic Party. He didn't do what they wanted him to do. They handcuffed him. They found him with his hands in front of him, face down on his desk with a lit cigarette and 2 bullets in the back of his head. You don't think that shocked and scared Negroes in the order? So again, you gotta grant our people grace and let them know that they free. These the nerds, the progressives. These the dweebs from high school. Ain't nobody scared of them. These the theater kids. This ain't the mob. This ain't Daily. These are the people that we were like to in high school. And I'm not saying to bully them, but don't let them believe that they're intellectually superior to you. These liberals believe because they have these sociology 201 vocabularies that they can come and just lord over you. And I keep telling them, I got the same degrees, I wrote the same papers, I can read just like you, and I don't need you to come explain my condition to me. Leave me alone. Go back to your little village and mind y'all business. Stop, get out of our Negro business in Chicago.
Yep. I just love you. I just love your fighting spirit.
Thank you.
Okay, so PD says, P. Rae, I've never heard of you until now. Do you have a YouTube channel? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? I missed your interview with Brother Phil. I've been following Brother Phil since 2012. That's why I had to have you, sis. I know that you were my best kept secret, and that many of my viewers hadn't been privileged to just be in your aura. So yes, I did share the Black Excellence Hour. I'm gonna put it up here again. Excellence Hour, and that's on Facebook on Sundays at 7 Central Standard Time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you watch her, then watch my archive. If you watch me, then watch her archive. Are your archives on YouTube? Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I have to upload them to YouTube. I have a YouTube page that I literally just started. It's Chicago Red YT, like Chicago Red YouTube, and I got to get going. So I'm not like a techie video person. I do a lot of stuff on my feet. So people like, P. Rae, you don't got no videos, you don't got no pictures. I'm like, I can't film and talk and shake a hand and make a friend. So I'm working on like getting more footage of what we doing as well.
Okay. And do you have Instagram?
I'm not on. I am on the gram at Black X Hour, but I don't really Instagram. My two things are Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is where you can find me. I'm telling you, I broadcast my show on Twitter. I do spaces. I'm tweeting these people, and people tweet me back. You know, so I guess people listening to me. But we making it rock. So yeah, that's where you can find me, Twitter and Facebook.
Wonderful. I'm trying to get P. Rae. Do you agree with Philip? I'm trying to get to just the stuff pertaining to you so I can let you get some rest. P. Rae, do you agree with Philip Scott that Black Americans need to move to Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina because northern and western states are too racist and hostile for them?
Nope, because we ain't leaving Chicago ever. We're going to take the snow. We're going to take the rain. We're going to take the heat. We're going to take whatever it comes. We want to stay up here and drink Lake Michigan water, okay? As my grandmother said, we didn't leave Mississippi to go back. Okay, you better make it work in Chicago, and we love it here. Now, yes, there's a lot of hostility here, but again, that's because of the brain. The Negro has the largest voting bloc in America, y'all. The only ethnicity that has more people than us are the Germans, but they don't have as many voters because all those Germans are not citizens. All of us are. So we have to re-empower our people to understand that we the strongest voting bloc in America. That's why everybody is chasing the Black vote. So no, we don't need to go down there. I mean, it's cool if you want to go down there, but we love it here. I'm not leaving.
I know that's right. I don't like them trying to move me out of California as much as I love it here. I love the weather and the beauty of California. And I'm just defiant. I believe the Negro should be able to live anywhere they damn well please and be able to flourish. And so I own property here. So it's like I may go. I mean, I'm contemplating going, but I don't like this idea of you forcing me out. Correct. I believe that we should be able to be wherever we please and not because to me, this is how I feel about what Michael Pan is sharing. There's quite a few people who believe in us moving where there's a big enough margin of us. But as you see, even with margins, if you don't have political power, you're still just a bunch of Negroes in a square foot area with no power. And that's the challenge. Like until we are from this ilk running our own politics, I don't even know what a bunch of us going down south is going to do, but be a bunch of us.
Exactly. And we got a lot of power. So one of the reasons I push for housing is so that we can bring our people back and increase our political capital. At one point, Cook County had the largest Negro population in the country, and that's how we were able to wield political power. However, now those numbers have dropped and our political capital has diminished. So we got to get our people back housed so we can get them back registered to vote and do the work that we need to do. Nothing more, nothing less. We don't got to run down south and fight these people that have already been down there, because the people in the south have deep roots down there. They've been down there for hundreds of years. So all of us gonna run down there and invade their space. We gonna get into it. Nope. I'm gonna stay right here on the west side of Chicago, in the Austin community.
I love that, sis. Thank you, Almost of Earthia, Alma of Earthia. Folks, please click the thumbs up button. Yes, You guys must do that because it pushes this broadcast up in the algorithms. And don't you agree that the world should know Miss P. Rae Easley? Don't you agree? I do. I think everybody should know you. I think Donald Trump, instead of having the Cablasian, what's his face? Tiger Woods, he should have been talking about how he was going to build a living legend monument in your honor. That's what I believe.
Wow, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. That was,
I love what
I
you're
would have
doing.
fainted
Oh my
like,
God.
but yeah, no, seriously. Like this
Yeah.
is our movement is not MAGA. We love MAGA because we're Americans, but our movement is to reclaim our space in our country. When I lived in Senegal, I don't know if you've seen Roots, when they brought Kunta Kinte over here, they were calling the white people Tubobs. Well, I got called a Tubob in Senegal. And oh my God, was I upset. Yes. I'm sitting there trying to eat my little food, mind my own business. And this woman says, look at the Tubob, Hulu, Tubob. And I'm like, Tubob? Who you calling a white woman? I'm a black woman just like you. How dare you? The worst thing an African can call an African American is a white person. Right? You see her face, she's like, no. We know that you're black like us. But we're saying that you're Tubob as in you're foreign. You don't eat like us. You don't sleep like us. You don't dress like us. You don't walk like us. You don't get money like us. Everything about you, American girl, is American. Everything that you do is American. And that's okay. You got to stand on being an American girl. And I was like, yes. I am an American. I am not you. You are absolutely right. Pass me a spoon. I will not be eating with my fingertips any longer.
How did you like Senegal? Did you love living there?
Oh, Senegal, definitely. Oh, I love it. I love it.
What made you choose Senegal to flee to after Obama pissed you off?
So I actually went to Senegal in 2010. I went to law school in 2010, but my cousin got murdered the summer in 2009, right after I graduated from Hampton. So I came from all this pomp and circumstance and Black excellence to some real live ghetto trauma, okay? The man had a gang funeral. It was a lot for me. So I had a mental, oh yeah, it went down. Nobody gonna throw you a funeral better than the Four Corner Hustlers. I mean, he got a monument on his tombstone, everything. I digress. Then this is why, sidebar, this is why I go so hard for Donald Trump, because Operation Legend came to Chicago and saw 3 murders in my family. 3. Because my cousins were getting knocked off on this here west side. But again, that's a whole other story. Yes, on my daddy's side, 2 first cousins and my grandmother's sister's son were through it. Yes, ma'am. So anyway, my mind going crazy. I'm in law school. I happen to be on Facebook in contracts class, and this girl said, anybody want to go to Africa, let me know. My friend opening up a school. And I'm like, all right, girl, tell me where. I need to get up out of here. So I'm like, wait a minute, I don't speak French, I'm not Muslim. She's like, it's okay, it's like the west side without the threat of violence. I'm like, I'm in that here, girl. So I did my little online interview, they sent me some bread, and I went. So now I'm a founding teacher of ICRA Bilingual Academy, which is West Africa's first and only bilingual international school with American accreditation. We cater to the children of Islamic diplomats, ambassadors, and West African heads of state and business people. We got 1,000 students from 35 nationalities at this moment. So people send their kids to our school because they get American high school diplomas, which then makes it easier for them to get student visas and go to study around the world. We got students on 6 continents now. So that's what I did in my early 20s. And then I met my husband over there, a Senegalese man. He was a Senegalese supermodel. We had my daughter, moved over here, all that marriage kind of stuff. And then I moved back in 2016 because I couldn't take Obama at all. And I had told him, like, babe, I want to move back to Africa. He's like, okay, well, you can move to Africa. I ain't come to go back, so you go ahead. So I took our daughter, and we went and lived in Dakar with his family, with 16 people in this house, this little house. But I loved it. Like, I never got to with my in-laws. They cooked me good food. They kept my baby. I had like 4 jobs. Cause over there, like, the government don't take care of you, so you got to work to eat. So I was over there picking up all the safe I could. We had cable in the house, eating chicken, buying new clothes. everything, taking my baby to pizza and ice cream, the beach on Sundays. It was a beautiful life. However, I told myself it does not make sense for me to build anything in a foreign land when I need to be working in my own country. So I came back after Obama got out of office and been working for ever since, doing it.
You have just lived a million lives. To be so, oh my God, it's rich. I love it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Maya Sister says, ask P. Rae to get a message to Trump about banning jobs requiring bilingual or Spanish. I thought he was going to do that.
We got to get the audience with him again. But that's what I thought we were going to go talk about the White House. I thought all of this was about to be put out there. And you telling me about Tiger Woods and some Muhammad Ali statues. What? No, you supposed to tell us you canceling bilingual preferred today, because we know that that's not a language of the Negro and y'all at home. That's what I was going to hear, right? So we got to get that message back to him. We got to get this Negro message to him directly. I went and I met the people, you know, the influencers or whatever. They listening to me like I'm listening to them, and they see that this, again, Negro patriotic esteem movement is the only thing that's going to keep us together. That's it. When Tom Homan came here to Chicago, we went and we greeted him. And I told him, if anybody ever tries to call you racist or anything for your deportation stuff, come get us. Come get us, and we're going to stand right next to you in the press conference and say, no, illegal immigration disproportionately harms the Negro. So if you're with this, you are a Negrophobe and racist. What do we do to deserve this? We got you, Papa Tom. You know, and they need that. We have removed the stigma of racism from MAGA in order for them to execute their plan. Therefore, there has to be something coming back to us for our investment in this movement. And that's what I'm going to try to do.
Oh, I love it, sis. I'm just trying to read at the same time, but I'm listening. You've got my undivided attention. Okay, so Michael says, P. Rae, I understand that capitalism is important. However, crony capitalism is bad. And to his point, capitalism requires a bottom caste. And the reason why these immigrants fight so hard and get in bed with what I call Crayola wanton white supremacy is because they don't want to trade places. So while I get that you are definitely opposed to socialist agendas, and I'm opposed to that as well, what do you say to that? Like, there's levels to capitalism, which as we have been living means that only a select few of us get to enjoy, you know, flourishing as Americans. You have anything to add?
Austin is a Black community. Okay, like I said, the blackest place in America. And we go through the full stratification of socioeconomic class. We got very, very poor people here that's living on Section 8 vouchers. We got very, very rich people who are living in Frank Lloyd Wright mansions, okay? We got an incredible housing stock over here. My U.S. congressman lives over here. The mayor lives over here. The state reps live over here. If you are Black and you want to live in a Black community, you come and you live on the west side of Chicago in Austin. So we know what that looks like, okay, just within our own Negro community. However, I believe that we're able to do this, and some people may not like this, but it's because of segregation, okay? Segregation today, segregation tomorrow. And I say that because we're able to recycle our money and take care of ourselves. Even the people at the lowest know that on Christmas, you're going to have some gifts for your baby. We're going to make sure y'all got some coats. We're going to make sure, you know, all these things are taken care of, your basic needs, because there's a trickle down effect. Because people like my parents, you know, teach their kids, we have to invest our money in socioeconomic capital back into our communities. This is how we have generational homeowners. This is why we have Black businesses over here. So if you are looking to integrate your capitalism into other communities, then yeah, you're going to run into that stuff. It's supposed to be that way. You're supposed to be working and fighting the hardest for your people to be at the top. That's what it's about. Capitalism pushes competition. Capitalism pushes creativity. Capitalism pushes that hustle spirit in you, and it keeps things going. People over here driving Maseratis parked right in front of their house. You know, you're like, oh, you got a Maserati. Yeah, girl. You know, I built 2 buildings. I developed 2 buildings. I just bought a building and sold a building. Like the whole notion of buying a building is so normal over here. People like, girl, what you gonna do with your taxes? I'm trying to buy a building. So that's what we own over here. But again, it only works because we are culturally insulated. So I encourage people to culturally insulate yourselves. You are not going to, now you can go to other communities. You don't have to diminish anybody, but you don't got to go outside of yourselves to find value within your own community. Again, I grew up very educated. My little brother over here, they used to call my little brother the professor, because he wore glasses and, he all read this little book bag. But because he was a professor, nobody bothered him. Nobody gave him a hard time. They said, leave him alone. Let him read his books. Get back in, hey, where are you going? Back in the gate. Don't you come out this gate, because we are culturally insulated and our capitalism works for us.
Okay, Michael goes on to say, under capitalism, housing provision is based on what will make developers, lenders, and landlords rich, not what average people need to survive.
That's not true, because again, the Chicago Housing Authority got 1.8 billion US dollars. Okay, they got them. So we're telling them to spend that money over here. Give us some single family homes. Give us some multi-family units. We got that over here. Again, because we worried about ourselves. We're not worried. So the west side of Chicago is not being gentrified. They tried to push the Mexicans in to see what that looked like. And we like, get out of here. Call ICE. So that's how we still 85% Black, because we take care of ourselves, because we are insulated, because we have not bought into this idea that value comes from people moving into your community. Our value is not tethered to whiteness. It is not. Okay, we don't need white folks to come over here to give us value, because there's a white suburb. There's a white suburb right on the other side of Austin, which is Oak Park. And that's all white liberals. And we don't want to be over there with them. Straight up, y'all stay on y'all side, we'll stay on our side. And that's the Chicago way. And it's, again, not to diminish other communities, but after the Chicago riot of 1919, as many white folks died as Black folks died. So then they said, okay, the truth is you stay on your side, we stay on our side, because them Negroes crazy. And it's working for us on the west side.
I'm loving it. Okay, George Witchard III says, scroll to my comments. Okay. Is this the one, George? After the Civil War, when they took the American Indian, they had to figure out how they get around the Indian non-tax in the Constitution. So they reclassified the American Indian to Black Negro. What?
Yeah.
Do you know anything
true.
about this?
Yes, ma'am. That happened after Jackson, actually. It was actually before the Civil War. The people who did not leave the South during the Trail of Tears, when they got the expulsion notice, if you did not leave, your tribe was reclassified Negro. They didn't get to be white folks. They said, y'all either leave and go to Oklahoma, or we going to make y'all Negroes. So a lot of the people who stayed were reclassified as Negro. That's true.
So we're, in fact, I keep hearing this quite a bit, that we are the American Indian. Is that true?
Yeah, when I went to Senegal, we look like them, because, okay, let me put this in different context. That 23andMe and me stuff is fake, okay? The reason that I know this is fake is because, as it was explained to me in Africa, the nomadic culture of West Africans does not mean that the people who are there now were necessarily the people there 400 years ago. So they can't say that you from like Nigeria, if Nigeria is only, made after 1960, and that's a forest border. So none of that stuff is real. We know that there were a bunch of Senegalese and Gambians in North America. One, because the current from Senegal goes straight to the East Coast. A thunderstorm in Senegal is a hurricane in the Americas. Okay. There are so many people speaking Wolof, which is the local language of Senegambia, in the Americas, that we actually have Wolof words in the American English lexicon. Like okay is a Wolof word. That is not a British word. That is strictly an American Wolof word. Jazz, jive, okra. I say all this to say that that's who we are. That's what we are on, and we recognize that. However, we are not those people. We don't look like them. Our skin tone is different. My sister-in-law told me, what kind of products are you using to get your skin that color? I told her, girl, this is a brown skin daddy and a light skin mama. What you talking about? She thought that I was like holding the juice on her. She's like, I know those Black American girls got to be bleaching. I know y'all got to be using products to get your skin that color. Yeah, and we're the only Black people on the planet who don't bleach their skin. Everybody is trying to bleach to look like us. Yeah, they all want this little glow, this little,
this copper tone.
Yes, I was gonna say this copper glow they wanted. So yes, we are the original people. The fact that we have such a heavy corn diet, I was suffering in Senegal because they don't have corn. So I was be like, oh my God, I need some Doritos, I need some cornbread, I need something, because you don't notice how heavy your diet is in corn until you can't eat it, and then you craving it. They don't have those corn cravings because corn not growing in West Africa, you see? So yeah, we're not them. We're very, 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 very North American.
And you know what else? You mentioned 23andMe. Ancestry.com states, what has always baffled me is that when my sister did her DNA, and it basically is saying everything African and European. It's not talking about anything indigenous to this country. I don't understand that.
It's fake. It's fake. And I also think that it's a cash grab by the Nigerian government to try to tie us to them through blood so that we can come over and spend our Negro dollars with them. Like the Ghanaians, they got us all come over here and spend money. Now it's the Nigerians' turn. They're trying to do that through these little fake DNA tests. We ain't Nigerians.
I'm just going to give you just the top two. And it just blows my mind. Like, how in the world are we everything? And we actually have Indian in our bloodline. One of our relatives was literally named Pocahontas. And yet, it's nothing coming up in the DNA.
It's a scam.
The DNA says we're 29% Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu people, 22% Benin, Togo people, 11% Great Britain and Northwest Europe, 10% Mali, 9% Ireland and Scotland, 6% Norway, 6% Ghana, Ivory Coast, 3% Germanic Europe, 1% Nigerian, 1% Senegalese, 1% Eastern African, 1% Baltic states.
No.
How?
Right. How?
My people descend from chattel slavery in Tennessee and Kentucky. How have we been here all that time? Don't nothing register as American?
Because it's fake. It's fake. It's not real. It's a way for them to gather up DNA so that they can start coding and sequencing it. That's it. That stuff not real.
It can't be. When like I said, my family's been tracing our lineage, and there is Indian in that line. And it's like, wow, that's just, and I always was like, they're lying. But now you just confirmed that. Okay, George, you have.
My phone is going to die soon, too. Sorry, I've been working it, but I just got the little.
Okay, we're going to let you go. Guess what? You've been here 2 hours. You listen, y'all. She ain't me. She ain't going to spend all night with y'all. We will have her back. Okay, George, you're going to have to come back the next time I advertise that she's over here blessing us, okay? But she's got to go. She's fresh back from D.C. P. Rae. Thank you. I thought, is she going to come over here with this shadow band sister and talk to her tribe? Because we sure are so thankful to you for gracing us with your presence, your beauty, your brilliance, your advocacy. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. If you ever need a call to action pushed out, please reach out to me. I use my platform to push out calls to action. And if you ever want me to return the favor and come and join you at the Black Excellence Hour over in X, wherever you need me, I'm here for you, sis. You have richly blessed this broadcast this evening. Did you want to say some parting words before I actually close us out with the outro?
Yes, ma'am. First things first, for those who want to help us, please donate at chicagored.org, chicagored.org. We need money to pay for the heat. You see, I'm sweating up in here. We got to pay the heat, the lights, buy toilet paper, and soap for the church. So please help us help ourselves at chicagored.org. You can also purchase shirts and swag and all that good stuff. I also want to remind to my fellow Negroes here, we are as American as sweet potato pie. Anybody who's telling you that this country does not want you, this country does not love you, that you are stupid for being a patriot, those people are trying to push you off the table and eat your pie. You want to eat your own pie. You deserve to make that pie. Your people planted the seeds for them sweet potatoes, harvested the sugar, harvested the wheat, did everything they had to do for you to thrive in the nation of your ancestors. Stand on this flag. There is no Juneteenth without the 4th of July. So God bless America.
Thank you again so much, sis. You listen, I'm gonna let you go. You can stay here for the outro, but I usually pray us out. Family, thank you so much for showing up and showing out in the chat. I'll see you guys again tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. And until we meet again, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever the Negro descendant and our allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until tomorrow, family, you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening. And until next time, family, I'm believing for each and every one of us a ton of peace, love, and reparations. Thank you. Thanks again, P. Rae. I'll be in touch. Thank you.